It's 6 o'clock on Saturday, the 5th of October, 2019. Good evening, and thank you for tuning in to the English edition of Ora News. My name is Oliver, bringing you the only daily update of the local Albanian news translated into English. 7 pupils of Postriba School remain hospitalized in Shkodër Hospital, where they are now being treated for food poisoning. 6 of them went back to the emergency room last night, while 1 student showed up earlier this morning. It is suspected that the students consumed fast food at a restaurant in the vicinity near their school. The testimonies from these students to hospital staff reinforces the suspicion of food poisoning, as one of the students says his stomach pains began after consuming a sandwich. 15 others received medical help and 1 has already returned home. In total, about 50 children were hospitalized within 48 hours after consumption, all showing signs of ingesting contaminated foods. Even parents say the reason for their illnesses is due to the food they received at the nearby fast food restaurant. The National Food Authority in Shkodër has shut down the fast food location and is now conducting a thorough investigation. Meanwhile, the Directorate of Public Health has already taken water and food samples at the restaurant to determine the cause of poisoning. However, it will take at least another 24 hours until the results of the analysis can be verified. Next up tonight, the arrest of the former director of the cadastre in Duras is just blackmail. This is what is being said by the Deputy Prime Minister, Erion Brace, who claims that the next crime against justice with prosecutor Arjan Doj at the helm of the prosecution has cost Pula his freedom for 4 days. According to Brace, the charges were made by an anonymous source, and there is no mention of the name of the former director, Lirian Pula. With concrete documents, Brace explained that the prosecutor concealed important facts, which completely changes the course of the case in court. Nowhere was the director of the cadastre of Duras mentioned, accusing him of illegal activities or violation of his duty. The prosecutor defrauded the court when he said that the starting point for the investigation showed that the Duras Police Directorate of the Economic Crime Department was unaware and did not act. The prosecutor lied when he said that the venture contracts between the investor and the landowners depict the percentage signs, thus aiming to support the change of alienation of property. I have the contracts which are individualized with the subject for each owner. The prosecutor was deceiving when he said that there were no restrictions on certifications issued by Lura companies. I verified it and found these imposed restrictions, said Brace. Deputy Prime Minister Brace then erupted, attacking the Democratic Party over the allegations claiming the arrested former director of Duras, Lirian Pula, has family ties with Brace. Brace has already announced that he will submit all documents to the justice institution. From the verifications made to maps, the Deputy Prime Minister has revealed that the person brought in to testify reportedly owns a plot of land just some kilometers away from the Lura 3 complex. Next up tonight, the planned 12,000 square meter construction project in Laknas has sparked a clash between the police and local residents. Residents are claiming that the facility would cause flooding, and dozens of people gathered to demand the departure of police. As a result of tensions, 3 of the protesters fainted. There were even allegations that the ambulance arrived late to the scene, and it was up to local residents to provide the first aid. On the other hand, the owners of the prospective construction project claim that the building does not affect the area at all. During the protest, residents claimed that the permission for the project was given by former mayor Jelan Mziu. Where in a more recent meeting held with the current mayor of the city, they were unable to find a solution. Although banks safeguard your money with the utmost security, Albanian citizens seem to prefer to keep their cash at home. The data released by the Bank of Albania shows that during August, the circulation of money outside the banking system has reached its highest level in the last 10 years. There was 288.3 billion lek circulating from hand to hand around the country during the peak of summer. Contrast this to the 197 billion lek which circulated outside the financial institutions back in 2010. It's a concern that has recently been acknowledged by the Bank of Albania, which considers it problematic. Growth outside the banking system has been quick this year, despite the anti-informality action launched by the government and another project for fiscalization, or online bills that focus on raising money through other official channels. This data is an opportunity to promote more informalities, but does not allow the Bank of Albania's policies to be reflected. The data shows that in Albania, cash transactions account for about 22% of the total transactions when compared to other European countries. For comparison, in the European Union, money outside of the banks account for just 9.2% of the total. Elsewhere in the region, indicators are also better in this regard, as data shows that cash flow in North Macedonia and in Serbia is 8% and 7%, respectively. Builders have warned that the government's decision to insure every facility in the next 10 years will affect the rise in apartment prices. Arben Dervishi from the Builders Association states that this initiative will be an additional cost having a direct impact on affordability. You have to increase the cost by 1%. If we have an apartment of about 100,000 euros, the builder has to pay 1,000 euros in insurance for the apartment. It is difficult to determine how this will be divided up if the inhabitant causes the damage himself or if the builder causes the damage, said Dervishi. Dervishi warns that the Builders Association will appeal against the government's recently made decision. The association board will meet and make a decision. But from the conversation, we agree to not agree with the way it was done in terms of the rapid deployment. They decided this after the earthquake, and it's not going to work. The state has already decided, but I believe there are ways to counter it, said Dervishi. The builders will be obliged to pay 0.1% of the value of the sale of apartments in insurance lasting for 10 years. Otherwise, they will not be able to obtain a certificate of ownership in the mortgage. During Breast Cancer Awareness Month, where free mammography services are currently being offered, the Minister of Health and Social Welfare, or Gerta Manastirliu, has officially launched an awareness campaign composed of various activities for women and girls to perform breast screenings for prevention and health awareness. Minister Manastirliu announced that the service will be provided free of charge, and in addition to the 12 mammograms in the hospitals, there will also be mobile mammograms in remote areas to offer free breast screenings to women. In the period between January and September of 2019, there are 9,496 women who have undergone a mammography, of which 2,500 of them were screened with movable mammograms. The mayor of Tirana, Ariel Veliaj, met with the delegation led by the Prime Minister of the Sarajevo canton, Edin Forto, with whom he discussed the sharing of successful experiences in both cities and the challenges of the future. Mayor Ariel Veliaj stressed that the major infrastructure projects, public transportation, and improved services to citizens are just some of the areas where Tirana and Sarajevo can exchange experience with one another. My friend Edin Forto and his team put forward some ideas where we can collaborate on waste management issues, as we did in Tirana with the landfill closures and power transformers, on public transport issues, and the transformation we are carrying out in public transportation. I am convinced that we can cooperate and learn from Sarajevo, especially when it comes to some of the competencies they already have, such as primary health care or other competencies that the municipality of Tirana is still waiting to decentralize, said Veliaj. The Prime Minister of the Sarajevo canton, Edin Forto, expressed the conviction that this cooperation will be further intensified in many different fields. In a sign of friendship, Mayor Veliaj handed the clock tower over to the Prime Minister of Sarajevo, Edin Forto. And just a reminder, RTV Ora launches their most innovative TV program yet, which aims to depict Albania from the eyes of foreigners who choose to live in our country. Hosted by our very own Alexandra Lewis, the show is part documentary, part reality, and aims at driving an increase in tourism as well as to encourage Albanian youth to take greater pride in their homeland. The first of 24 episodes airs tonight at 7 p.m., so please tune in to RTV Ora and enjoy the program. And that's the news across the country today. Thank you so much for watching our English edition this evening, and be sure to join us again every Monday to Saturday at 6 p.m. for the latest news from Albania. Once again, on behalf of RTV Ora, thank you and good night.